Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chune shume, washmale, ohio, gonzaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, and a very amazing khush amadi to everybody who's actually tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning, alongside the very lovely, the very amazing Mariam Shahzad and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Mariam. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Shahzad. Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great and you're ready with teas and coffees to start your day with me and Shahzad. I hope you're ready to rise and shine and wake and bake.
These were my lines, man. Come
Shahzad,
on, don't do that.
we can copy each other. That's fine.
All
I
right.
hope you guys are keeping warm. It was very chilly yesterday, and I thought it's about to rain, but unfortunately, it did not. So I think the summers are about to, come, and I really don't like summers.
Well, I
So-
just don't want summers to come. In fact, I think I can still keep up with this cold, which
Cold
is actually
weather.
going on. But please, people, make sure that you guys look after yourselves, keep yourselves warm, dress warm as well, because it's getting colder day by day, and this cold is dry too. So please make sure that you do not catch up with influenza. But right now, I think what you need to catch up with is the top stories. So let's see, what do we have in the box for you guys? And let's see what's happening all around the globe. Top stories coming up. Good morning.
Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has arrived at Zurich in Switzerland. He is to represent Pakistan at the World Economic Forum, which kicks off in Switzerland today.
Punjab Chief Minister Shahbaz Sharif has officially announced the arrest of the murderer of 7-year-old Zainab.
This is good news. A team of scientists have reconstructed the face of a young woman who lived in a cave some 9,000 years ago in northwestern Greece.
A floral feminine Chanel invited Fashion Week into its Rose Garden for its latest spring-summer haute couture collection. Well, I think, Mariam, this one's for you.
Let's go.
Well, it just happened, already took place.
South Africa under 19 set a target of 190 for Pakistan under 19 in the quarter-final of the ICC under 19 World Cup in New Zealand. Pakistan's batting is underway.
Well, wish them luck.
I think they needed this.
Well, moving on to the bigger boys with the second 2020 of the three-match series between Pakistan and New Zealand will be played on Thursday. We wish them best of luck. Well, something really great didn't happen in the one days as well, so we want something good to happen in the T20s.
Don't be mean.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, these were the top stories, but I think we've got another thing to share with you guys as well, and certainly we cannot figure it out whether it's a vegetable or a fruit as well. Mariam, what do you think? Do you think it's a vegetable?
I think it's a vegetable.
All right, so we have a vegetable of the day too as well, and we're going to talk about beetroot and the benefits it can have for your health. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
Blood pressure. Drinking beet juice may help lower blood pressure in a matter of hours. One study found that drinking 1 glass of beet juice lowered systolic blood pressure by an average of 4 to 5 points. Boost stamina. Those who drink beet juice prior to exercise were able to exercise for over 15% longer. The benefit is thought to also be related to nitrates turning into nitric oxide, which may reduce the oxygen cost of low-intensity exercise as well as enhance tolerance to high-intensity exercise. Fights inflammation. Beets are a unique source of betaine, a nutrient that helps protect cells, proteins, and enzymes from environmental stress. It's also known to help fight inflammation, protect internal organs, improve vascular risk factors, enhance performance, and likely help prevent numerous chronic diseases. Rich in valuable nutrients and fiber. Beets are high in immune-boosting vitamin C, fiber, and essential minerals like potassium, essential for healthy nerve and muscle function, and manganese, which is good for your bones, liver, kidneys, and pancreas. Beets also contain the B vitamin folate, which helps reduce the risk of birth defects. Weight management. Beetroots are high in fibers and low in calories. It is popularly used in weight loss diet due to the soluble fibers present in it that helps to fight against fat. Beetroot also helps to cleanse the toxic and excess water from the body. Thus we can say that beetroot nutrition helps skin glow. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, consume beetroot and be at the top of the roof too as well, because it's very beneficial for your health. And for all of those advantages, I think they were on your screen, and the lady was actually doing a great job too. But now I think it's about time that we move on towards what we are discussing today. I think the topic is very serious, and we haven't really discussed this issue on such a platform too as well, and I think that we need to raise awareness. For example, I think I'm going to start with where we talk about our sustainable development goals. It's on number 10, reducing inequalities. Now, for example, when we talk about inequalities, I think we need to consider sex, age, ethnicity, religion, and your geographical locations and whatnot.
Everything.
But as a matter of fact, I think what we need to discuss is that the opportunity is available for everyone. This is for me, for me something, where you get the same opportunity and somebody from a richer or a poor background gets the same opportunity is equality. But when we talk about inequality, now there was a recent trend where we can see that, in the world, there's an increase in inequalities. As a matter of fact, the total wealth of the entire globe is actually just held by 40 people. Why is that? Is that because of the fact, as a layman, I think what you need to understand is that are we lacking with those opportunities? Are we not creating opportunities? Are we not achieving what we want to achieve in our life? Are we procrastinating? Are these the issues, or is the policies which actually have an effect on the entire globe? Do you want to add to that?
Yes, I think this is a great platform to aware this sort of awareness that, how to get rid of this inequality. How is there a wide gulf of
or a gap, in fact.
A gap between the wealthiest and the richest, and how we should, reward work and not wealth, and to get rid of this crisis of inequality and make opportunity for the people who are working and not for the people who are very rich.
Very nice. And then half of the people, we do listen to this statement where people say, oh, the richer gets richer and the poor is actually getting poorer. What are the reasons behind? Why do you think that all of this is happening? Why do you think that women does not get paid as much as men?
Exactly.
Why do you think that the labor class actually does not get or that amount of money which actually anybody else might if they had the same amount of money already in their pocket? So do you think that there are people who are taking advantage? Do you think that there are people who are actually influential? Do you think that there are people who are making their way out? But by the end of the day, when we say that the entire wealth of the entire globe is with the 40 people, or the 90% or the 80% of the wealth is with the 40 or 45 people of the entire globe, I think that we need to think about it. This is economic disparity, and I don't feel that it's right. And to discuss that, I think we have been joined with some amazing people. This gentleman on my right-hand side has been on the show earlier. He's a great guy, and last time I remember when he was on the show, I even asked him, how do you do justice with your job too? This was one question which I asked you. I still remember. Ladies and gentlemen, on my right-hand side, Country Director, Oxfam, Pakistan, Mohammed Kazilbash. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you remember that question. And I hope you also remember the answer to that question.
Yeah, exactly, I did. And you certainly came up with a very brilliant answer too as well, that, the position I am holding, I need to do justice with people. And I think that was a great answer too, certain examples. All right, ladies and gentlemen, alongside Mr. Mohammed Kazilbash, we've been joined with somebody who's a director, Labor Education Foundation, labor rights expert. He's none other than Mr. Khalid Mahmood. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much.
I think this topic might be very close to your heart too as well.
Yes, it is. And in fact, the reasons behind inequality are very much linked to the exploitation of the labor. So
and we will definitely talk about that. Last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, Inequality Campaign Lead, Oxfam International Asia. He's none other than Mr. Mustafa Talpur. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's a wonderful day, and I know that it's chilly. Thank you very much for waking up early in the morning.
Thank you.
So we are going to get started with very basic information, ladies and gentlemen, and what we're going to do is that we're going to keep it generic. We're going to talk on global issues, come down to Pakistan, and then towards solutions.
And we're going to talk about policies also, that what Pakistan is actually doing for this. Like, I have a small fact.
Sure, go ahead.
And in Brazil, in the 70s, the president proposed an idea of a zero hunger challenge. It was for the agriculture, so nobody could go, without food. So even after 30 years, they've progressed so much that they've come third in the country, and they have the poverty is so much less than what was in the 70s. So India has also proposed the same challenge, and now we're going to ask them if, apt guess, if Pakistan has come up with such policies, and if we have come up with such initiatives to, you know.
But
get
I
done
think
with
I'm going to defer to what you just said, because as a matter of fact, in the year 2017, I think the only billionaires who emerged on the world or on all of the platforms were from China and India too as well. So we're going to
Yeah.
talk about that and how policies affect. But first things first, what's inequality?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned in your preamble, I mean, inequality is as the clear definition that things are out of balance. They are the fact that when we talk about the wealth inequality, 42 billionaires of the world control over 2/3 of the global wealth. We have a population of about 6 to 7 billion people.
Yeah.
And so there, it's, just by looking at the maths, you can see the clear inequality that the wealth distribution is concentrated within a group of men, and these men can fit in a minibus, whereas the rest of the world basically is feeling is part of the have-nots. And Oxfam just recently produced a report that they launched at Davos at the World Economic Forum, which is a platform where the global elite all get together. Politicians, businessmen, media moguls, you name it, who's who is in Davos. And it is the uber rich that are present. And they talk about many issues, and they talk about the state of the economic situation in the world, and come up with ideas and policies. But the fact is that it is a representation of the elite, of the super rich. So they will obviously come up with policies and protocols that will benefit them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Why should they come up with policies that are pro-poor? Why should they come up with policies that will benefit you and me and millions and billions of other people? So what Oxfam is come up with is this report is reward work and not wealth. Because what we've seen in the last year, for example, the growth of billionaires. A year ago, we were talking about 8 billionaires controlling, half the global wealth.
Right.
Now we're talking about 42. The increase in billionaires, as you rightly pointed out, in the last year has been in China and in India. Overall, we can even see in Pakistan that, overall poverty has decreased. I'll be the first one to admit that. That the government and the regimes and the policies put in place has reduced overall poverty in the country.
Yeah.
But, and it's a very big but, the inequality has increased. So that means that the accumulation of wealth within the hands of an elite few has, in some cases, quadrupled compared to the rest of the population. So the balance has been completely skewed, and that's what we call about inequality.
All right, so I think with that I'll have to move on to Mustafa Saab over. So Mustafa Saab, since you're leading the campaign in the Asia as well, and it's all about inequality, so how do you think that it's going to affect world economy, or if not world economy, what different things is it affecting inequality? Do you think that it has an impact on our daily lives as well?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think it's a very important global issue. And since last 4 or 5 years, you won't see any global institution that's not talking about the inequality crisis. And there are many relevant factors that if this level of gulf between rich and the rest will continue, it will cause an structural problems with the economy itself. Because when wealth or the resources or knowledge is concentrated in few hands, it is not leaving incentives for other people to work.
I will definitely talk about those hands, who actually have all of these incentives. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have to rush towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys are going to come back, we'll actually talk about those hands who are actually holding all of these things too as well. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And I think that we didn't take that much time as well, because we were in the middle of conversation with Mr. Mustafa Talpur, and he was actually telling us something about secrets have being held by some of the elite within this globe. I think that's what we were talking about. And how do you want to explain that?
Yeah, what as Mohammed has already explained, and this our report reveals that in last 20-30 years, the new wealth that has been created in all the countries and across the globe has basically come through knowledge. It's now becoming a knowledge economy rather than land-based or the industrial growth. And certain people have unequal access to knowledge because we were left behind. So our access, the developing countries' access to knowledge and technology has not been that far that the rich world has. So the wealth that is generated by through this knowledge have few people controlling on them and not leaving others to access to that knowledge. So that's why the inequality has increased. But there are few other reasons as well.
But that's not their fault. If they know it, if they have gained the knowledge, that's not their fault. I mean, it's somebody else's fault who actually didn't cope up with the latest trend as well. For example, let's talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blockchain, all of these things. For all of those people who've actually acquired that knowledge, can definitely talk about it. But for people who've actually been sitting, doing shows just like us, they didn't really invest in all of these
No,
things.
that's not correct.
Okay.
Because the knowledge has been accumulated historically, but what people have done now, they have established a monopoly over it.
Okay.
All the research that globally people have done has been built on the traditional knowledge, other people's research, and that has always been in public domain.
All right.
So for example, the research in medical science, it has been built upon other people's knowledge and then it become in a public domain.
Right.
But then certain pharmaceutical companies hold a control on that, then they make a monopolies, sell on their own prices and gain power out of it, and wealth out of it, and then keep controlling on that
Right.
future knowledge.
Okay.
So it's basically certain groups in last few years have then got this control over the knowledge and the resources. It was not historically done. But I was coming another point that the inequality crisis has been fueled by a couple of reasons.
Sure.
One important reason is, so these rich people, if they are rich by merit, for example, if they have been hard working, we don't have any problem with them.
Right.
Because the 2/3 of the wealth, this our paper says, has coming through monopoly power, through avoiding the taxes, using
Yeah, that's not fair.
immoral kind of
Sorry. Yeah.
ways, practices. So it's not meritorious wealth basically, or it's inheritance. I mean, you born in a rich family.
Well, inheritance is married too as well. I mean, that's how I think. This is what my perspective is. But let's just leave inheritance and all of these things out. But as a matter of fact, I think that I'm still going to disagree to what you just said, and that is that obviously this knowledge which is actually with the people is not because of the fact that, within the history or, 2 or 3 decades back, their grandfather told them, this is what you need to do. Because knowledge has been evolving since you said that, okay, medicine. Now, when we talk about medicine, you do a 5-year course for all of those books which were 20 years earlier. They were very prevalent within the curriculum. They're not today. So people who've actually evolved are wealthier too. So how are you actually going to negate this sentiment? Khalid Saab, do you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the list who are the richest people in the world, they own corporations.
All right.
They are businessmen. They do business not in 1 or 2 countries. They do business globally. They have investments in many countries. Now, how are they becoming rich? The main reason behind that is that they are not only avoiding the taxes, but they are actually exploiting the workers who are working for them. And I call it wage theft basically. They are stealing the wages of the workers and they are maximizing their profits. Look at the big brands. I'm not going to name these brands
You
here.
can do that. We'll charge you for that, don't worry.
Yeah, but I mean, these clothes which are made by Pakistani or Bangladeshi or Cambodian or Burmese workers or Indian workers, what the workers are getting in wages, and at what price these clothes are being sold in European or American markets. If you look at that difference, you can realize then what are the reasons behind the difference of the income of the worker and the owner of that company. Along with the wage theft, what is happening is actually there are different kind of social protection schemes in place in Pakistan and other countries as well. And there is some responsibility on the employers as well to pay for these social protection schemes so that the workers get benefits of health, education, housing and all these kind of benefits. And these employers basically are avoiding these payments as well, and they are not paying to the states so that the states can give benefits to the workers.
Right.
And then what are the working hours of these workers? And the rich people, the employers can sit and they can enjoy their life and they can enjoy the wealth that they're earning out of this business. But the workers are forced to work. There is an increase in the forced labor and modern slavery in this world. And workers are forced to work for 12 and 16 hours a day.
Right.
And even then they are not earning enough to sustain their families.
So are we trying to say that just because of inequality, child abuse is actually going to be on the verge of being very on top of the level where it was before? Or do you think that women won't be paid, or their wages will actually go unaccounted as well?
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, in Pakistan and countries like Pakistan, there is a lot of child labor. We all know that. We see child labor on the streets, we see
Right.
child labor. And when a child is working in a place where there are other adults are also working, so you can imagine how vulnerable that child is to different kind of abuses.
Yes.
And same is with the women. I mean, women in the informal economy, more than 75% of the Pakistan economy is basically informal economy.
Right, right.
And majority is women. So, and globally 95% women who go out of their home work in the informal economy.
Right.
Exactly.
And if you look at this situation, then how, I mean, are women safe on streets here?
Like you said that.
So in a workplace,
True.
how safe are the women and the children, and then on top of that, how much they are earning out of that work.
Right. Like you said that children are vulnerable to the situation when they're working. So I believe that the women who are actually working, they're also a target. They're always a weak link, and they're always paid less. I think 25% less than what a man earns.
Exactly.
Even though a woman is at the same position as the man, she earns less than a man. And why? And I just want to ask, why is that, and how to go about it?
No, but we're on the same page, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just talking about ourselves.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
It will take 217 years with this current pace of the woman's wage
Right.
to equal their wage with the man.
So then what type of SDGs are we talking about? If it's going to take 217 years.
For
But the-
women to earn the same wage as the man earns.
Right.
So this is the structural
But
and
why do you say that?
systematic
Why-
problem.
But the woman is putting the same amount of effort as the man is, or maybe more. But then again,
The issue is that the policymakers
exactly why.
are men.
Yeah. But
see?
then again, this is
see, and-
discrimination.
Of course it is. I mean, no one's denying that. I mean,
Right.
and we
That's
talk,
what we're talking about.
and we talk about that. That
Yeah.
this wage disparity, whether children get paid less than the adults, in the adults the women get paid less than the man for the same job, for the same hours of work.
Right.
And this is a global phenomenon.
Yes.
This is not just an issue in Pakistan. This is a global phenomenon, and as a result of paying them less, the factory owner, the businessman, obviously their profits increase and their wealth obviously increases. They then have these schemes of tax avoidance. You have these tax shelters that we all have started to learn about and hear about,
Right.
whether it's in the Canary Islands or in Bahama or wherever it is. And again, if you see whose money is sitting there, you will see the list of 42 people.
Right.
Their monies are sitting there, gathering more interest and gathering more capital, and as a result increasing their wealth at the expense of 2/3 of the global population.
Right.
So that is fundamentally wrong. Now, how to address it, how to move forward, as Khalid Saab had mentioned, that policies are there. There's no issue around that. Even in our own constitution, it's there. Our policies and laws are there. It's the implementation.
Right.
We have very strong laws against child labor. Are they being implemented? Unfortunately not. We have very strong laws against domestic workers and how they should be treated. Are they being implemented? No. Unfortunately not. So that is the crux of the matter. And that is where, the smaller economies of the world, the weaker economies or the developing economies, they are then subservient to these bigger, stronger economies. And they're not necessarily, any country, but it's individuals, because as our report mentions, it doesn't mention any country by name.
Yeah.
It talks about 42 people,
Right.
42 individuals of different nationalities, and they don't really represent any political party, or they don't represent any political system. They represent, an economic system that they have are part and parcel of, have developed in order for them to continue to be at the top of the food chain and make sure that very few people join them at the top of the food
No,
chain.
but at this point of time, there's one thing which I want to ask, and there are two school of thoughts about it. And for example, for all of those people who actually fall in that 42 number, right? For all of those people from 1st to 42nd, as a matter of fact, there's something which they definitely did different. I'm not saying whether they were actually stealing on somebody else or they weren't paying taxes or whatnot. But that might be hard work too as well. That might be dedication. That might be seeing that opportunity which nobody else could. So why do you think that the other school of thought actually should be indulged in it, or we should be inclusive of it?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, if it's based on merit, we have no issue.
Right.
But right now, you have just seen yourself.
Okay, I get it. Thank
see,
you.
You just get it, you've just seen it yourself that the Apple phone, the iPhone, is as the phone ages, it slows down.
Yeah.
Right, it does.
You see, now you're telling me that Apple scientists didn't know this? Of course they knew this, but the fact that they you buy the next version, you buy the next version, and you buy the next version, that is that is being unfair. That, I mean, if you go and buy your iPhone and the salesman tells you that in 2 years' time this phone is going to slow down, you might have a different opinion about it.
Obviously.
But the fact is that this information was not shared. This information was not disclosed.
Exactly.
As a result, the sales went up. Somebody profited from it. Not you and me, but they were part of that uber rich. So it's things like that. It's the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
Exactly.
You see, the global food industry. Nestle's and the Cargills of the world. I mean, they profiteer enormously. I mean, and the small kisan, the small farmer in rural Pakistan or rural Bangladesh, it's not even apples and oranges. I mean, the scale, the disparity between the wealth is just phenomenal.
So I think then for that, what we need to do is that we need to actually focus on Pakistan first of all. And initially, I even said that initially we were going to start globally and we were going to come down to Pakistan. So how do you think that we can actually get rid of this economic disparity or inequality? We'll definitely ask that from Mr. Muhammad, but as a matter of fact, we've taken out a documentary, Inequality for All. Go ahead, check the trailer. When you guys are going to come back, we'll ask him how to get rid of this menace. Good morning.
Now, the thing you ought to know about this Mini Cooper is it is small. We are in proportion, me and my car. My name is Robert Reich. I was Secretary of Labor under Bill Clinton. Before that, the Carter administration. Before that, I was a special aide to Abraham Lincoln. Of all developed nations, the United States has the most unequal distribution of income, and we're surging toward even greater inequality. 1928 and 2007 become the peak years for income concentration. It looks like a suspension bridge.
Last year, we made $36,000.
I probably make $50,000 a year, working 70 hours a week.
The middle class is struggling. Now, people occasionally say to me, what nation does it better? The answer is the United States. In the decades after World War II, the economy boomed, but you had very low inequality.
Do you know Robert Reich? I do indeed. He's a communist.
When I was a kid, bigger boys would pick on me. I think it changed my life. I had to protect people from the people who would beat them up economically. Who is actually looking out for the American worker? The answer is nobody. If workers don't have power, if they don't have a voice, their wages and benefits start eroding. We are losing equal opportunity in America. Any one of you who feels cynical, just consider where we have been.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a trailer from the documentary Inequality for All. You got to watch it to actually learn a few things too as well. But we were in conversation with Mr. Muhammad, and he was actually telling us that, in fact, I told him that, we are going to focus more on Pakistan now. And as a matter of fact, provincial governments have this right of do whatever they want to do, and the federal cannot actually dictate that right. All right, but ladies and gentlemen, with that, we actually have to rush towards another short break. Don't go anywhere because we're coming up with the breaking news. Stay tuned. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And since we are only left with 5 minutes, so I'm going to drop all the questions and I'm just going to move on to what solutions as quickly as possible. So, gentlemen, solutions for inequality, what do you think the Pakistani government or the Pakistani people or the society itself needs to do?
Well, as mentioned in our report, I mean, the recommendations are that we need to develop pro-poor policies. And that can be developed with the assistance of civil society, academics, experts, and the government put together to look at how we can develop these pro-poor policies. And then, once these policies are in place, the implementation of them.
So do you think that before this, I'm sorry that we did definitely drop all of these questions, but do you think that, you know, these pro-poor policies actually need to come from poor people?
No, I mean, it obviously the poor have to contribute towards that because they are the ones who are at the receiving end. But the government and the state also has a responsibility to hear what its citizenry is saying in order to respond to their needs and to ensure that their citizens live in a dignified life.
But has some government has taken some initiatives or some policies like that, like a cash transfer program? I heard about it.
That's right. I mean, you know, that is one way of addressing, you know, poverty.
Right.
But we're talking about inequality. We're talking about, yes, as poverty numbers are reducing, but the inequality numbers are increasing.
Right.
So we also need to make sure that just because we're doing this cash transfer program, which is running quite successfully, we need to also look a step further and see that it's not causing inequality.
All right, very right. Khalid sir.
Yes, I think one of the solution is that if we implement our constitution and the labor rights in true spirit, and the labor rights or the labor laws allow workers to organize, and this is ILO convention as well, and then to collectively bargain. If the workers are better organized and if the government is facilitating them to organize themselves and then bargain collectively with the employers, then they can earn more what they are earning at the moment, and then they can ask for government and employers to contribute towards their social protection as well. Education for their children, health for their family, their housing, their transport, all these kind of facilities can be availed. And also the organized labor can better contribute towards the policies as well. So, I mean, traditionally if we see, the labor has been able globally to protect their rights through the organizing in the trade unions and other platforms. This has been actually crushed by these corporations globally, and the governments need to take care of that.
Well,
and they
you know,
need
when
to
you listen
implement
to
their laws better.
it feels great as well, but as a matter of fact, over here within institutions, we do have labor unions too. So don't you think that they aren't actually putting in all the hard work which they need to?
The labor unions are there, but what is happening is that in few of the public sectors you see the labor unions, but in private sector, which is basically the industry, the labor unions are crushed to the bottom. Actually, they are not able to negotiate freely, and there are many factories and institutions in the private sector where there are no labor unions. So but there are laws which allow, the constitution
And
allows
people need to know
labor,
about it.
and people don't know, but the government also needs to take some steps towards that so that the labor rights are protected.
This was our first step. In fact, this was a baby step, and we'll definitely move on. Talpur sir, very quickly.
Sir, very quick. I think first Pakistan government has to invest in a data because we don't have the wealth and income distribution data in Pakistan, how much top 1% and 10% is earning. The other important is globally, it's a known that the public expenditure on health, education and social protection has been the proven means to reduce the gap between rich and the rest. Right. So, because the poor benefit more from public services on education, health and social security benefits, our expenditure on these has been fluctuating, but it's a less than comparing to other countries. So, putting more money into education, health and expanding the access of poor people onto these services, and then we say where the money is going to come from is to put more taxes on the rich people and the corporation to raise the revenue.
You know what I'm going to do? Thank you very much for being over here. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to give you my opinion. As a matter of fact, I'm going to actually bind you for another show too as well, so that we can continue with this conversation, because we didn't actually reach a solution too. But as a matter of fact, society and the global population need to actually work together, avail all of those opportunities or create opportunities wherever they see disparity prevails. Please make sure that you actually raise your voice. This is our baby step. You want to say something?
Yes, I'm going to link in a small public message for you all. If you can't do something, do something small for someone, like giving out 10 rupees to someone. It might not mean something to you, but it might mean something to someone else. So please always be at the giving end. No, Shahzad, I don't do 10. I do 10,000.
Thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to have you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
Well This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
11:05 p.m.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.